Yeah, buddy, here we are. We're back. We're doing it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. A little Stargate today, you guys. SG1 Wednesday. Here we are. We're doing it. Season 6, episode 17. Meet me at 5 seconds. Meet me there. We'll count to 3 and we'll press play. Hope you guys are all having a good week. Hope everything is swell and smooth. Grab your snacks, your drinks, and all your watch party enhancers. I got black screen. This is what I see at my 5 seconds. Five seconds, you guys. A little bit earlier of a stream today. Hope you're all doing okay. We finished building our Warhammer yesterday. All the plastic is put together and ready to be primered. We will primer this week, and next week we'll start the painting. We played that new game, not that new game, but new to me, Warhammer 40k Martyr Inquisitor something or other. It was pretty dope. It was pretty good. Played some Dark Tide, also pretty dope, way fun. Glad we have our homie Francis to hold it down for us. All right, you guys, we're at 5. SG1, episode 17 of season 6. Disclosure. It's called Disclosure. All right, you guys. We're gonna count to 3 and we're gonna press play. Let me kill that music. Oh, I didn't even turn on the light. Nice. All right, you guys. Here we go. We're gonna count to 3 and press play. 1, 2, 3. Damn, dude, the bots are already invading so quick. It's all good. Hansel B, thanks, bro. I appreciate you. Colonel Zoklov. Or something. Damn, dude, it's like they predicted the future. Nothing new under the sun. Where's Dr. Jackson when you need him, dude? He would have known what they were saying. Shouldn't General Hammond know what they're saying also? Damn, disclosure, bro. Here we go. And yeah, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody's in trouble now. My tax dollars have been going to this. I'm over here slaving away while you guys are having picnics on other planets. Hanging out, singing Kumbaya with a bunch of aliens. Yeah. That's where I want my money going. Hell yeah, Stargate. Stargate, you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna crack that soda open. Cheers, you guys. What do you guys got to drink over there? Leave me a comment. I got a root beer. Wish I had some ice cream so I can make it afloat. They'll float. Gerald, what's up, my dude? Cheers, my guy. How are you, bro? Did you see I finally finished Hogwarts Legacy, my guy? Finally. Like 8 months later. 8 months plus later. Thanks, dude. Yeah, dude. Finally made it. Thanks, bro. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. You want some commentary on this episode? I can throw on the commentary. You can listen to. Since I'm listening to the actual episode, I can't let you hear too much of that.
I believe my eyes.
It is true.
You know about this?
The Russian government has been aware of the Stargate program for quite some time.
Are you quite
Of course
serious?
they have.
Did your president not recently call Great Britain America's closest ally?
One of our own people illegally sold the Russians information which allowed them to temporarily operate their own program.
Damn. Good old Russians. That's not the guy from Lost, is it? No. That's not him. Looks like him though. Sun and Moon. No. Sun though. Oh, there it is. It's coming in. Burning up for re-entry. Is this going to be one of those recap episodes? I think it is. Maybe we should throw on the commentary. Filler episodes suck.
In Antarctica 5 years ago.
That Stargate has since been destroyed.
The original
gate. We had 2 gates. We had the gate, and then there was a gate in the Arctic, and then we
named one gate up onto a ship, and so we moved the Arctic gate. Got picked up by the Russians, and then our gate got blown up. We lost track of which gate was which after a while.
And then, of course, at the beginning of season 6, no, season 7, no, season 6, we destroyed one gate when Anubis attempted to use it.
Yo, bro, why are you giving us shit that's like not even? That's on the next disc, man. Come on, dude. I'm gonna have to cut you off if you're gonna keep telling secrets.
Very familiar with.
Of a Russian submarine. Although I am a bit dubious that not one,
I'm learning a lot.
2 reported.
I think the events that actually started this whole ball rolling, this story rolling, was Descent, in which
yet another ship crashes
in the ocean,
yeah,
and blows up. There's Ronnie Cox.
Meeting on the Hill couldn't be postponed.
Senator?
Ooh, you can just feel the hatred.
I don't know if you
yeah, we don't like Kinsey.
Ronnie Cox is a folk singer.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yep. Has a CD out there.
God knows how long, and they don't even.
He doesn't
folk
sing under the
singer
name
with his
Ronnie
own
Cox,
CD.
That doesn't.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
No, he's got a singing persona.
But it's true. The Stargate exists, and they go through the damn thing on a daily basis.
I ran into him about a year ago, and he and his wife were going to a folk festival here in Vancouver. So I think he was playing in Branson.
That's down where I'm from. I used to carve cigar store Indians that were sold at Silver Dollar City, right outside of Branson, Missouri.
Really? And as you were carving those cigar store Indians, did you have aspirations to one day make it big in Hollywood?
No.
Were you biding your time, Don?
I had aspirations to make more money carving more cigar store Indians.
Well, actually, this is an interesting opportunity.
And
here
this
because-
was the period, by the way,
Mhm.
right after Deliverance, where Ronnie Cox played the banjo and dueling banjos.
Right.
Our planet is facing imminent
What was
danger.
him really playing the banjo.
Yes, it was.
So,
Now, since, Don, this is your first DVD commentary, just, I know the fans would appreciate just a little insight into maybe your background, the fact that, and I know you're...
I'm an ex-Army captain.
Yep.
I was on active duty for 3 years during the Vietnam period. Was stationed in Korea in the 7th Infantry Division. And I am a big supporter of the American military.
Interstellar travel.
Such as the one that crashed.
Well,
Not
then,
necessarily of the politicians that get them into conflicts, but the military is made up of good men doing a great job.
But who better to play a general?
That's right.
Operates entire fleets of these.
So this clip would be from Don. Name that episode.
This is the one where they're in space flying around and there's a ship with a pyramid.
Absolutely
on it.
I think I've seen this episode.
You mean Serpent's Venom?
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the episode where we offed Herur, by the way, who was actually my favorite Goa'uld at the time. Until Osiris made her appearance, of course. And
there's another clip from another episode.
That I believe is Exodus, actually.
Oh, this is good.
I do believe that our effects will match any available.
I totally agree. Didn't we get nominated for an Emmy last year? Our effects people got nominated.
I believe we did get
And I
nominated.
believe
for
we
an
were
Emmy.
ripped off and lost out to, I don't know, some show called Enterprise, I think it was.
Well,
but never heard of it myself. But
I know, dude,
Actually,
right? Wild,
our
me
effects
either.
are second to none as far as I'm concerned.
Actually, my favorite are the years we were nominated for Gemini in visual effects. And in all honesty, there is
Gemini
no
being
way
the Canadian version
equivalent
of an Emmy.
there is no show shooting here that has visual effects comparable to to ours. And I remember one year we weren't even nominated, and some other show won for some silly match shot, and I just thought, well,
No respect. No respect.
no
at
respect,
all.
no. Don, military man, and you were stuntman.
Yes.
You hold a PhD.
They probably didn't make a big deal out of
And
it
I'm a
because they
painter
didn't
and a
want
sculptor.
people to see the
PhD in
show
what?
and be like, oh,
Dramatic
yeah, this is
theory and
happening somewhere for real.
Goodness.
We got to keep this hush hush. We just got to let the
Those
crazies
people
watch
getting
it and let them
squashed, by the
talk
way,
about it.
were
Yo, Area 51,
in,
what's up, my dude?
The first part of the two-parter.
Listening to some
Summit last
commentary. We're doing SG1 Wednesday a little earlier
night. Paul's
today.
favorite line.
We're doing all right. So far, so good. Hope you're doing good. You're chilling.
Coming.
Week's going well.
That's very impressive.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Smoke that, drink that, all that.
They appear to be amassing a few troops.
I insisted that they keep that line in the clip. Originally, the clip was cut before the line, but I love that line.
It was high time you were all briefed on what we're up against.
If what you are saying.
This is a moment where we're, filling in our allies. Well, not necessarily our allies, all the nuclear powers in the world,
Which have placed the
on the existence of the Stargate and the fact that we've had some dealings with aliens. Of course, the Russians already knew.
Yep.
They found out on their own when they found the gate underwater.
Yep.
But now the Chinese, French, and English are being briefed.
With due respect, Senator, the president took your recommendation, and it nearly resulted in disaster. It was only because of the...
Where's the Canadian ambassador?
I'm not sure. I think he's actually
These guys.
For everybody?
Donuts. Yeah, well, I hope he's getting some for everybody.
Haven't they, General? You managed to defeat the Goa'uld, known as Apophis, only to see him replaced.
Do you ever say Gould, Don? You always say Gould, don't you?
I say Gould.
Yeah.
Yes, there's something about the way it comes trippingly off my tongue.
Gould.
Guy, the Gould.
Now that man is not, well, not that man, but the man that you just saw before, has not become one of the major television sex symbols working in the industry.
It's a mystery to me.
Yes.
There's the puppet, Thor.
Please. The puppet.
Well, he's really magnificent, you know.
The
It's a puppet.
puppet,
It's,
you guys.
Extremely
The puppet.
expensive.
Well,
high tech.
the fact is,
Puppet
a
that's-
lot of the fans may not realize it, but Thor is a bit of a prima donna. He has a list of items that have to be delivered to his trailer prior to shooting. For instance, Smarties, only the blue ones.
No,
2 bottles
he likes
of
the yellow ones.
Oh, right, the
That's
yellow
what I
ones.
call.
2
Yeah.
bottles of Cristal champagne.
Bro,
will possess no such technology.
is it talking about, is it because of the food that they eat?
This is when we first revealed Anubis in the episode called Descent, I believe.
No, in the
Or
episode Revelations. A little spiky thing. How's he going to get that in Thor?
In his head?
Yeah.
You don't
in
want
his-
to know.
In his head? Yes, okay.
He said it would be implanted in his brain.
Okay.
Returned to
All right.
power among the other Goa'uld system lords.
The point is,
See,
he's already
Major Davis refers to
occasions.
the Goa'uld as opposed to the Gould or the Goa'uld.
There's many different pronunciations.
That's the wonderful thing.
None
Everybody
more-
can bring their own
None more correct than the other.
interpretation
Yes,
to the text.
About a year ago, we discovered an asteroid on a collision course with Earth.
When you say asteroid, I assume you mean spaceship.
No, sir, not this time.
Oh, the asteroid episode, Don?
We were fortunate to
Yes.
It was called, what was it called again?
You're right.
Slipping my mind.
That's what it was.
We only
I
wrote
believe
What
it
was
was
it?
called, oh, that's right, Don. It was called Failsafe. You're right.
Well safe. By golly. You know, this is a great show.
Should try watching it sometime.
I'm going to.
Yeah, this was a fun episode.
Carter, I can see my house.
Engaging hyperdrive now.
This is when we flew the
Yeah,
asteroid
just a recap episode, you guys. Talking
Through the
about all the
Earth
episodes leading up to
with a
this, pretty
hyperspace
much.
bubble in order to
Where we're
avoid.
at. Disclosure with the gate.
Of course, it worked.
Oh, yeah,
The
such a
Earth was
dope
saved.
episode.
Yet
Brought
again.
a whole
I
asteroid
should point out
through
once
the
again,
air,
gentlemen, that it was
out the other side.
SG1 who saved us.
That was damn fine.
Thank you. You ever seen that?
No,
Well,
I
this is a
that
delight
episode.
to watch these with you, Don. Eh?
The nations represented in this room make up the bulk of this planet's military capacity.
The fun thing about that episode was getting Rick and Chris in those spacesuits, and
Yeah, dude, it was. Yeah, it was good thinking for their story
pretend
arc.
that they were
Moving slowly.
Yeah, slowly moving
I
across
think
the
we
surface.
actually,
of the-
To maintain
and
Kinsey,
there was some air conditioning issues, I believe,
no!
inside those spacesuits.
Hate that
Probably
guy.
had to
But you know,
redub
he
a
must
lot
be
of
the best actor ever in order for me to hate him so much.
vocabulary.
Because he does great at
No, I'm sure
making
they
me
were
hate
all
him.
very
dude.
happy
He
to
acts the part well.
to don those spacesuits. If
And
it's made for a better
sleazy
episode,
government official.
they're willing to withstand a little discomfort.
Soon to
for the
be
sake of the
elected.
show, of course.
Does not believe in keeping secrets from its people. We may have no choice but to release this information.
Damn, dude.
We're talking about a full-scale attack from space. I'm afraid people are going to notice.
We're hoping it won't come to that. As you now know,
Now we're
Stargate
discussing the
deal with several threats.
issue of whether or not we should tell the world about the alien threat. Of course, you can't tell the world because the world can't handle it.
We also
They all, panicking and running in the streets, and cars turning over and that sort of thing.
We've seen the movies.
Fleet of motherships.
This SG1, I assume.
That's right.
Ooh, what episode is this?
Exodus. This is where we jettison the gate. Actually, one of my favorite
Well, this is a cool sequence.
visual effects.
When we drop the gate into the sun, the solar material was sucked out of the sun because the gate on the other side was attached to a black hole. It's kind of a complicated little scenario, thus causing the mass of the sun to decrease rapidly, causing it to collapse and go nova. and destroy Apophysis.
Good episode. Good episode.
That's some of that physics stuff.
Yes, it's all true.
Yes, General.
If you had a Stargate
Come on,
that could
Don.
withstand the internal heat of a sun, you could actually do this.
Aha.
Don S. Davis, dude.
I'm
My
not
guy,
saying you
bro.
do,
Rest in
but-
peace, my dude.
Certainly, it's all physically possible.
And the gate is away.
Brad used to be our physics expert.
But he's gone now.
But he's
so
gone. So Paul has assumed the mantle.
I should say Brad is gone because we're actually doing this commentary halfway in the middle of season 7.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say Brad Wright's already
He's
done
with us
at
in
this time.
spirit, always. Oh, and there are the planets going.
Oh,
and
and there goes
Brad.
the fleet.
ships.
I wonder if it's going to get a
Robert
Apophysis ship
C.
in time.
Cooper. Joseph
we'll never know.
Malazani, or whatever his last name is.
But it sounds as though the circumstances will be difficult to duplicate.
For all their advanced technology, the Ghoul have a fatal flaw: arrogance.
We've been
A
able
flaw
to
which we've exploited time and time
You'd
again.
think they would learn.
For example, they tend not to guard their Stargates.
The point is, they're not.
Kinsey has the same flaw, which is why we managed to
Exactly.
defeat him.
Here was a time when they actually did guard the gate, and we figured out a way to take out their positions by shooting missiles through it. This is kind of a cool sequence.
Yeah,
too.
it's one of the things we asked when we first came on the show. We thought, well, wouldn't it make sense for them to guard the gate? I mean, why? You know, if we're running ops all the time, wouldn't they smarten up at some point and say, "I'm going to station a couple of Jaffa at the gate"? Another thing that a question that still hasn't been answered is, if they're so advanced, why do the Jaffa not have radios? They're always blowing their
Crazy
horns, yeah, to contact each other.
To obtain technology capable of defending this planet.
And we've
Hey,
made
that's a good
significant
point.
progress towards that end.
We've made progress. The jury's still out on significant.
During the 6 years that the Stargate has been in operation, we've acquired a working knowledge of certain alien technologies. We try to adapt those technologies to our own uses.
We're talking about
Different
using alien
technology.
technology. It's one of the sort of things that sort of changed over the course of 6 and now 7 seasons on the show. I mean, we couldn't always just reset to 0 at the end of every episode, and we realized that we were beginning to accumulate some alien technology. Wouldn't we try to use it? And so there's been various episodes where we did exactly that. This being Tangent, one of them where we retrofitted a salvage glider and created a kind of fighter interceptor. Unfortunately, it didn't work out so well, as you all
Another
recall
great
from the
episode.
episodes.
Now, General Hammond was in a glider in one episode.
Yes,
as
he
I recall,
was. And,
whooping it up.
And whatnot. Yeah.
That's right.
How was that experience for you, Don? You want to get in the
was great.
cockpit a little more often now?
You know, Hammond needs to get into battle occasionally.
Well, I mean, there was that incident. Was that Into the Fire? There was.
Next season, we're
season
gonna get a
6
good one of him
episode.
going into battle, dude.
This is a great shot. This is entirely CG, of course.
A king and a soldier
We now
fighting
created
shoulder
our
to
own
shoulder.
Impressive looking machine.
What we did was, instead of using a salvage glider,
Yeah, dude, exactly. I was gonna
fixing
say,
it
I was
up
gonna
to
mention
flight,
that
we
earlier. You
actually
got to keep them
built an
compartmentalized. You
entirely
can't give them too
man-made,
much technology. Only give
version
them what they need
of a
to
glider.
do your bidding, and that's
the
it.
X302, I believe. The X301.
They already know how they've already had
Tiny-
thousands of years to lose planets to revolt by giving them too much
Saying,
info,
Don, you
letting
also
them
got the
talk
fire
amongst
gun in
themselves too much.
Menace.
That's why
Yes.
they got to make
Well, on
Jaffa story and
occasion I have,
legend of
yes.
things that are
And,
forbidden to talk about.
in
You don't speak of this. Oh, no
First
writing,
part
no
of,
writing. Writing's not
The
allowed.
opening two-parter
Yeah,
for season
bunch of
7,
shit.
you actually go off-world.
And I'm kind
Step
of
through
curious
the gate.
why they were wondering why,
is a
you know,
good
they
thing.
made it sound. They probably know, or somebody knows. They just
United
didn't.
States Air
They
Force
didn't feel
is
like
currently
explaining it all
flying
right here,
a
right
fighter
now.
interceptor that is capable
My
of
guess.
both aerial combat and space flight.
That's correct.
But yes,
This
you're absolutely right. Area 51.
Is unacceptable.
Right on the money, bro.
Sure seems unhappy about that.
How you
With
feel?
all due respect, General, I don't think you do.
She was a very good actor.
He was.
Remember, actually,
Yeah, he was a nice guy too.
yeah.
Supposedly for the benefit of all mankind.
That was a difficult one, finding a Chinese ambassador. I think
Yeah.
we wound up casting him out of
LA, yes.
He was LA, yeah.
Francois Chow. Everyone else was local,
The X302 was designed to defend against
except Ron.
We had
X302 's
no intention
badass.
of using it against our neighbors.
And for that, we have only your word.
The United States has had such capabilities for some time, but have not used them on other nations.
Are there any other new technologies that we need to know about?
Yeah, the X303 that we're not telling you about.
Might as well tell them, General. They're going to find
They got
out
hijacked a little while ago. It's like last week. Prometheus, bro.
Ever since we encountered a Gould mothership,
now we're introducing the
viable countermeasure.
X303.
X303, there it is. Prometheus. That's right.
This was kind of a cool visual effect too.
Sure was.
This episode is full of cool visual effects.
That was my thumbnail for
and this
for the special features last week. That right there.
Prometheus.
That was my thumbnail.
The X303, as you can see on the side. This is a big ship. The idea was to have a sort of what would appear like a battleship or
is that who he is? Okay, dude. I thought he looked familiar. I said a little while ago, I was all, is that the guy from Lost? Is that Sun from Lost? The Asian guy and his wife from Lost, but I don't think it's that. I just he looked like him for a second to me, but I recognized him from somewhere. Thanks,
must
dude.
contact my government.
Expanse was fire.
We gloss over the fact that it was hijacked by
a camera crew.
Yeah, camera crew stole that ship, dude.
That's a story for another time.
Our world.
Yeah, the X303 is dope.
We have the experience.
And then we'll get the Daedalus later.
But it may be impossible
Is the
to
Daedalus
achieve an
considered the
agreement
X304?
as long as
I don't
the
think so,
Stargate
but
and
General
I'm not
Hammond back.
100 on that.
The
the
SGC.
United States military.
You don't mess with an old man from Texas, let me tell you.
Move
That's right.
the gate to a neutral location
Tell him,
and
Don.
Create a permanent staff drawn from all 5 nations.
I'm afraid we can't agree to that.
That's right.
Choice may finally not be up to you. Once the rest of the world learns of the Stargate, they may well demand it.
I still feel like he was on Lost.
And what are you getting in exchange for this support?
It was just drawn in there by the scintillating
Maybe he was on
dialogue.
that. Maybe he was somebody else.
And of course,
The guy in the lab
Senator
coat,
Kinsey has a
the
compromise.
white lab suit from Lost. The guy with for the
What could it
DARPA
entail?
initiative, the leader of not the leader, but one of the head manager guys.
A device as
The very villains who have tried to steal everything we've found, he wants in charge of the program.
You remember?
and who blackmailed you?
Yes.
BC 304 was the Daedalus.
Chain reaction.
New battle
But he
cruiser class.
intends to forget.
Oh, all right. Hell yeah, thanks,
Hammond
dude.
is from
Damn.
Texas, and
So
Texas
it was the 304,
Now,
but
it's
BC, all
man-
right.
Don't
even
mess with
has
Texas.
a poker game named after it, Texas Hold'em.
like the Stargate program.
I will play a flip
From
card.
the beginning, I propose that we give
This
this
is, of course, referring to the NID,
control.
And the
which is
ace
a.
in the hole. He's
What's
got at
up,
the end of
Booby?
This episode, but
I mean,
get
Kinsey's
ahead of
referring to the NID, but of course, the NID has been problematic
Oh, dude, the
throughout
NID. We
entire
hate those guys.
run of the show. That it was in its original concept, it's a civilian organization that is supposed to be watching over top secret, super secret projects like the Stargate project. Unfortunately, we've found out over the course of several episodes that there were some rogue elements within the NID.
The NID,
Of course,
bro.
throughout history, it has been groups like the NID, these civilian organizations that try to control the military and the government,
Confirmed. Thanks, dude.
that have
Hell
caused
yeah.
almost every conflict.
That's
there
right.
Yeah,
is
dude, it was
ever
like
known.
a thorn
got
in my
nothing to do
side
with the
seeing
fact
that
the
face. I'm
Air
like, hey,
Force
that guy.
reads all our scripts.
I know that guy.
And generally doesn't like it
I
when
was,
Air Force personnel, act as
I was a main
thieves or
guy for a
criminals or
minute.
whatever, so
Not a
we
main
usually
guy, but
cast
he was a
those
homie,
parts as
kind of.
civilian characters. It's nothing to do with that. It's purely historical respect for historical truth that we're.
yeah, speaking.
Nah, dude, the
which,
world,
NID,
the world
what does
can't
NID stand
handle
for,
another
Don?
one of me, my guy.
I was contacted by a
Just
representative.
one.
In fact, nothing. Correct. You're correct.
You know, I've
You were
always
correct
wondered.
not to answer that,
I
Don, because
actually
it doesn't
thought
stand for anything.
that it was the National Intelligence Division.
No, you know what? There's no National Intelligence Division.
Come on, Don.
Well,
No, that's
on,
good.
Don.
I remember
That's
actually
what
being
I
online
came
and
up
somebody
with.
asking me, what does NID stand for? I knew for a fact when, I'm not sure who it was, Robert, I think, invented the NID. He just thought it sounded cool. And I said, it doesn't stand for anything. And then one of the fans was raking me over the coals say it stands for. It really exists. It's the whatever the National
Intelligence Department. Actually, I believe the story that I heard was that it was originally going to be called the NRD, which stood for Not a Real Department. But nobody liked the sound of NRD, so they changed it to NID.
Wow.
Well, if you slur,
NID does sound better than NRD.
Becomes nerd.
Yeah, I was just going to say it sounds like nerd.
It wasn't going to work, so they had to change it.
Is much better
so it became
nerd.
NID, and
saying NRD is like nerd.
It's like GDOs.
Well, that was actually
I like GDO.
They use their GDO
Garage door opener.
Send a signal to the
GDO
GC so they can open the iris. The GDO stands for garage door opener.
Yeah, garage door opener.
Duh.
Don's learning all kinds of
Come on,
things.
Don.
This episode.
You're in season
is
7, bro. What happened?
Shades of Grey, I believe.
Yes,
Or is it
Shades of Grey.
Shades of Grey? Yeah.
This is one of those nefarious NID operations. They were actually operating a second gate, unbeknownst to us, and stealing alien technology because, of course, we were trying to get alien technology the proper way, the moral way, which didn't involve stealing and killing.
Which got us nowhere for 5 years.
Wait a minute, where's the gate? It's in the crate. Well, that's a cool effect, isn't it?
I loved it, dude. I loved it.
What was in the
Tripping. Where are these guys? Who are these guys? Where are they
In
going?
which case, this episode would be Touchstone rather than Shades of Grey.
You're right.
Yeah.
Shades of Grey came later.
The swan dive.
Shades of Grey came later when we found out that those people
Are part of
continued to operate after they had
on that other planet.
Right.
Disappeared through the gate.
Right.
Oh, and Daniel didn't see the gate. Missed
Why
it.
Dr. Jackson doesn't wear that hat enough?
The big floppy hat?
I love that hat.
Now,
he needs more.
The Touchstone
It's a
was in
weather control
Paul.
device.
Yes, it was in Paul's office for about a year and a half.
Sadly, I
It was
had to give it away.
confiscated.
It was
Yeah,
confiscated. I was toying with the weather too much.
That's a neat thing.
I was
He was
playing
playing God. Yeah, exactly.
And,
How come the actors don't get any of these neat little things?
Because you guys get to go to conventions for all expense paid.
Okay.
Vacations.
Yo, busted.
Where were you last? You were in Germany. You were in.
Where have you been?
England? How many places have you been to, Joe?
I might be going to Whistler, and I was downtown just this weekend.
Yeah, but how many conventions have you been to?
One.
You guys have been to GateCon.
Where was that? That was in Surrey, right?
GateCon, yes, at the lovely Ramada Inn in Surrey. Yes, we've been to that
Surrey,
one.
British Columbia.
Dude.
Unfortunately, I missed the one.
That was the
in,
best
the last
answer
one in
to
England and Germany
Oh,
and
man.
Australia.
Our invitations got lost
Oh, how
in the mail.
come the actors don't get any of this school memorabilia?
We speak well of
You guys get to go to
No,
conventions and travel for the rest of your lives.
We do.
All expenses paid.
But we're all
Oh.
agreed the
Oh.
status quo won't do. And I would hesitate to point fingers.
It does seem a little odd that he's saying, we should get the NID in charge of
The gift was your
of the gate, when
fame.
the NID, in fact, had tried to assassinate him, I believe. There must be something more to this.
If you want to look at your records in company of these fine gentlemen, that's just fine. Each of these reports details an incident in which the
Where does Smoke and Mirrors fall in the
has brought this planet.
Smoke and Mirrors?
It came
Yeah.
before this.
Yeah.
4 years ago, despite indications of extreme danger, you opened a wormhole to a planet that was in the process of being destroyed by a black hole.
That was unforeseeable.
Gravitational and time distortions.
That was a good episode.
The
That
black
was-
hole, which we later used in the episode we've already referred to,
Exodus.
where they dropped the gate into the sun.
Within a hair's breadth of being torn apart.
Matter of time.
We
It's
did
an interesting
manage to
episode.
shut down the gate by directing an explosive device.
Questionable physics, but I wasn't around back then. That was just Brad, and I think he
Well,
kind of
the
got
seat of
away
his
with one
pants.
there. But we're willing to let it go.
Teal, pull him up!
This is a cool sequence because the gravity has changed the orientation in the room. There's so much gravity coming through the gate that it's getting pulled towards it across the room. Time is dilating here, which causes this 3-second sequence to last for 45 seconds.
That's the scientific explanation, right?
Look at the biceps on the big guy.
Ooh, muscles up there? Yeah, I know, right?
Ah, yes.
Oh,
Isn't it true that while under your command,
Vala
the
calls them
Stargate
muscles.
facility has been completely overrun by alien life forms?
On more than one occasion, in fact.
That would have been a cool prop to keep. Message in a bottle.
Get out of there!
Whoa.
Woo.
Ow.
Yep, got him.
That looks like it hurts. Whoops.
And they're the replicators.
Yeah.
Sorry, the
we'll
previous
see
scene was
with the gun here.
Yeah, the previous scene was message in a bottle.
This is from Menace, and I believe General Hammond did a few. Maybe we're not going to get to see it.
Yep, here we are.
There he
you
is.
are. Look at you.
Look at that tough guy.
Yeah, you know,
He knows how to handle
he's
himself.
got a set of pythons on him, too, you know.
Oh,
I
the
hear the
thing
look
going
in
through his
this song
shoulder?
for
Yeah,
Terminator
dude.
As long as they don't terminate me, that's the main thing.
Yeah, that was rough.
Now,
you did a really good acting job on like being in pain there.
Have you explained to them that one way that our
foothold
weapons
situation
destroy
episode foothold
the super weapons is ours are so primitive they don't see the bullets coming.
Well, that's the key with the replicators.
Yes,
they're immune to energy-based weapons like the Zat guns and the staff weapons. In fact, they just absorb the energy. But bullets are such a primitive form of combat that they don't have any defense for them.
Yeah, Zat guns are great though. I mean, one shot, of course, you know.
Oh, I know several people
Knocks
I
you
would
out.
like to entertain with a Zat gun.
Really? None of them you meet, during your everyday at work a day.
Certainly
world?
no
Of
one
course
that
not.
I work with.
Yeah,
No, never.
Don gets along with everyone swimmingly.
I've got the greatest job on television and the greatest show on television.
Oh well, that's very good. That's nice. That's nice for you.
It's
isn't it?
true.
Yeah. Don's known as a very easygoing guy on the set, up to a point, and then occasionally things aren't quite the way Don wants them to be, and there's an inner Don that kind of gets out every once in a while.
It's the writer's fault. They keep having me frown. If they would let me smile every once in a while.
Would you like to sing as well, Don? Do you want to sing in an episode?
I sing at every opportunity.
We've been pitching that musical episode for years.
To intelligence oversight.
When Brad and Robert are both gone and we're in charge, that's when it's time.
There you go.
For the musical episode.
I may have my own ace up my sleeve.
Oh, there you go, your ace.
I wonder what that could
I
be.
understand your feelings, Mr. Ambassador.
Of course, we've revealed at that point that Senator Kinsey, in fact, has been made head of the committee, the Senate committee that would actually oversee the NID. So, in fact, this is actually his attempt to gain control of the Stargate.
The program costs
What a sneaky guy.
$7 billion a year to operate.
Well, they reap the benefits.
The X-303. Research and development of the hyperdrive alone has cost them over $2 billion. And it still doesn't function properly.
In fact, it still doesn't function properly. It's
halfway through season 7.
Perfecting the design.
I think we get it going again somewhere in season 7.
Well, these things take time.
Once again, I apologize, gentlemen. Seems a politician's work is never done.
This guy.
This episode was directed by Bill Garrity, who did a terrific job on Paradise Lost, another season 6 episode. And
Bill's
he did
an
it.
outstanding director.
Yeah,
Yes, he is.
did a terrific job on this episode as well. And there's one particular bit upcoming that I think really makes the episode, but I'm not going to give it away, but I'll point it out a little later on.
It's a difficult episode to make visually interesting because, in a sense, what he's filming is several men sitting in a room talking. It's a great set, though.
Representatives of this planet throughout the galaxy.
It's an interesting set.
They will be our ambassadors, meeting other races, establishing ties with other worlds. It is true.
Of course, here you are making the pitch for Stargate Command.
In the Stargate, we've made enemies, but we've also made friends. I believe we've acquitted ourselves with honor.
Maybe we should just let him talk.
Score, I stand by the record.
It's very stirring.
You know, I'd follow that
orator.
man anywhere.
He's a stirring orator, is what he is. This is a great sequence. This is the first.
It's from the 5th race.
This is when we
first encounter the Asgard.
This is the Asgard planet Othala in the galaxy of Ida.
Why did I come here?
What's your favorite alien on the show, Don?
Our region of space.
Do you have a favorite alien?
But your subconscious mind used their knowledge.
Yeah. And again, I can't
remember the episode. But
he was the creature that captured Daniel and had him.
Oh, underwater.
Nem,
yeah.
Nem.
Fire and water episode.
Yeah.
That was season 1, wasn't it?
Season 1.
Fire and Water, I believe it's called.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
This is a great
We've
cue.
had a lot of
Amaroka.
interesting.
My mate.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I was going to say, this is a great cue. The music in this sequence is lovely. Our composer, Joel Goldsmith, is extremely talented man and really adds a lot to this show. You see the cut without the music, and you think, that was an okay episode, and then you see it with the music, and suddenly it sings. It's incredible, the difference.
Yep.
You make an interesting case, General. However, I'm afraid I must take this matter back to my government and recommend full disclosure to our people.
I must do this.
Looks like that's it for the Stargate.
Did he say disclosure?
In fact, he did say
we always
disclosure.
like to work the title of the episode into some dialogue. And it's time for a full disclosure. Oh,
There you
what's
go.
this?
It's a writer's version of the old Hitchcock trick.
Well, in fact, Peter does the old Hitchcock trick. He
does.
actually appears in his own episodes on a regular basis.
And we always cut him out.
Hello?
Or try to cut him out. Always finds his way back in.
Here's of course, General Hammond's ace in the hole. His personal relationship with a very powerful alien named Thor.
Hammond, the Asgard are in your debt.
Your debt?
SG1, under the command of General Hammond, has saved my people.
How many people does it take to operate that thing? It's like 6
Oh,
people or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. It's an amazing piece of technology, that little guy.
Commander Thor.
In this case, Todd Masters, Lumen Coet, Jenny Cassidy, and Maura Chapdelaine.
Distant planet for your actions here. But I am
Just off the top of my head. Just off the top of my head, I believe.
I'm sure it was, Commander.
Now, this is the great
supreme.
little bit.
Is the opinion of the Asgard.
That was added by Bill Garrity, and I thought it was hilarious.
Very capable hands of General Hammond and his team. And while our continued friendship with Earth is not contingent on that, it is preferred.
Well, that showed him.
Well, shut me up.
All this way just to tell us that.
And to install Asgard-designed shields and weapons on Prometheus. A small token
So as far as clip shows go, this one was
I think it's a great
fun.
clip show.
And yours from certain destruction.
I see.
I hope I've been successful in convincing you. Good day, General Hammond.
Always a pleasure, Thor. Please drop in any time.
See you later.
Well, that settles it then.
What an amazing clip show.
Have our
Dramatic.
Was quite something.
Powerful. Gripping.
You know, it's always an honor to work with true artists wielding the pen.
Well,
You're too kind, Don. You're too kind.
I do think, though, and I at those conventions you mentioned, the one thing that we consistently tell the audiences is that we think that our shows have a quality of writing that separates them from 90% of the shows that we compete against.
Thank you.
Well played.
Though I'll have to take your word for that because we
it's a
haven't
true
been to
thing.
very many conventions, so
Not that we're bitter.
not
No.
bitter at all. No.
Damn, dude.
Well,
Hell
thanks
yeah.
for coming.
That was disclosure.
This was a nice experience. I'm not sure I contributed much
No,
intellectually,
actually,
but
the fans love that type of stuff. You know, finding out about what you do, what you've done in the past. Your
Mostly, I spend as much time as possible at craft service.
Damn, dude. That was pretty good, you guys. I actually gotta switch out the disc. That was the last episode of this disc, so just give me a quick minute and we'll get on the next episode. Here in a minute. Next episode, 18, Forsaken. All right, you guys. Episode 18, Forsaken. Meet me at 5 seconds. You guys want to listen to some more commentary, or should we? Yeah, might as well, right? All right, we're at 5 seconds, you guys. We're going to count to 3 and we're going to press play. Oh, I should probably fix the timer, right? All right, now we're at 5 seconds. Episode 18. We're going to count to 3 and we're going to press play. Here we go, you guys. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Andy Makita, director of this episode called Forsaken, and beside me is the insightful and articulate Damian Kindler.
Yes, also the president of the Andy Makita fan club.
Keep talking, pal.
This is the shortest telescope in science fiction television.
You wouldn't, sir, during the day?
And the thing about this scene is right directly behind us, camera left, over our left shoulder, from an audience perspective, is a beautiful lake, which unfortunately we don't see. The big wide shot that I had taken for this to set up this whole setting didn't make the cut, unfortunately.
Mm. Well, this scene's really about the fart joke.
It's all about farts, but
yes.
Bruh.
Nonetheless, it was a nice lake.
Yes,
that could offset the fart.
So this is your typical. We're just doing something kind of innocent and mundane, and something happens.
That's my wife, Candace. Did you know that?
That's
Candace. Yeah.
The show's better written than 90%.
There's the lake. I forgot the lake made it into the show.
I forget my wife. There's the lake.
Oh, yeah.
Candace was very upset
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
then they did well sewing it up together.
And I didn't do an insert on it. I was just no closer than that. And I scrunched it up just a little bit too much for her. Couldn't identify herself.
So there was trouble.
There was.
Why is there a phone on that telescope?
Every telescope has a phone. Didn't you know that?
No, I didn't.
This was kind of fun. This was a fun shot. Here's our one piece of set.
Yeah,
out here on location. There's the lake. Not much of it. The amazing Cerberus.
Yes. The Cerberus, which will be seen in full glory in season 7.
Yes. How much can we talk about that?
I don't know. I mean,
we can say as much as we want.
We can talk as and that will be.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about the upcoming episode, which you'll see the return of many characters, or maybe one character from this episode.
Oh shit!
I am unfamiliar with
So yeah, here they find the ship. I like the ship. I think I love Crash.
Damn, dude.
It's great, and it was
Almost
a
blew
wonderful
it there.
set piece, and it was a lot of fun. The difficulty was that we were always limited with the angles that we could shoot because behind the wingtip in the body of water behind, of course, it's a matte painting extension, which we got a little bit of a glimpse of in that first opening shot.
Yeah. And here come the people with the shoulder pads.
The shoulder pads and the space guns.
And space guns, yes.
The green space guns. Controversial space guns.
Now, I should get my whining out of the way. I wrote this episode while on my vacation.
Oh, you poor guy.
I am a pathetic man. While on a beautiful island up at a lake in Ontario, I sat in a boathouse overlooking this just gorgeous lake. While my family,
so that's the tie-in.
Yeah. While my family's laughing and eating and enjoying and swimming, I was sitting in this boathouse, coming up with
the dark,
coming up with this, the culture of Hebridan and Warwick and what he was about and the finding of someone's wife in the ground and feeling sorry for myself. So I was the forsaken man.
That's where I was wondering where the title had come from, where you came up
Forsaken
with that.
Vacation.
Yes.
It was the initial title was Screwed Up Vacation, but we went with Forsaken instead.
Yes, far more pretentious title.
Exactly, a little more ambiguous.
Yes. Another interesting thing during the course of the shooting of this episode, we would always be shooting what's called TV safe, the 4:3 format,
right?
And but also framing for 4:3, protecting for 16:9, the widescreen. But we had at one point made the decision to go exclusively 16:9, but that only lasted a very short time. So there was a few scenes in this episode that there was a post-production process called pan and scan.
Yes.
In order to keep the folks in frame that we're in frame in a 16:9 format, but we're out of frame in a 4:3 format.
Right. I like those sunglasses.
They're great sunglasses.
Now Martin here, we cast him while he was. We cast him and he didn't know he had been cast.
He was out of the country at the time. He's a fellow that I had worked with for some time previously, 7, 8, 9 years ago on a MGM series called Poltergeist: The Legacy, which Martin was a regular on. I was an assistant director on that show, and Martin and I had become friends, and so I was very pleased to have him be a part of this one.
Now, Sarah Deakins, who plays Tanis Reynard,
yes,
was so thrilled to get this role. Hadn't she been just dying to work on the show?
She had auditioned for a number of parts on Stargate that just, for whatever reason, just didn't quite fit, and I was very pleased to have her on Forsaken.
She did a good job.
She did a great job. Yeah.
She's got a nice look and a good delivery.
And the handsome David Pactow back in the blonde young fellow in the back.
His surfboard is off in the bushes.
That's right, there he is.
Yeah.
And that's all he cares about at this point. He just wishes there was more water in that lake so he could just pull out the boards.
It's a transportation device.
Well, explain.
This was kind of difficult shooting the sequence because we were chasing the sun. The shadows were appearing everywhere, and it was a little bit difficult. It was all sandy ground and hard to move around for any great distance.
How does this Stargate work exactly?
Well, basically.
Who are these guys?
They look like they've taken a puck off the side of the head, eh?
Exactly.
There's the Canadian quotient from us.
That's right, a puck in the head.
It looked like it took one off the dome, you know.
I actually was struggling with that shot. I thought I was a little disappointed after the fact when we had shot that because to me it sort of showed too much.
Yes.
I should have revealed them in a little bit more of a sketchy manner.
Or we could fix their ship.
Well, you know,
I'm just saying it's possible.
It doesn't matter to me. I think that's more what I saw, that you would see these people and you would think, okay, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to initially go, aha, it's their ship. I hope.
That's true.
I was banking on the fact that no one had ever seen science fiction before when I wrote this episode. It's a little bit of a gamble.
This guy.
You know, but it was one of those episodes where a lot of people had gotten a lot of their work done, and I was sort of still breaking my story, and I'd sort of be chasing people down the hall going, hey, can we talk about Forsaken? And they'd be like, yes, as soon as we're finished golfing, we'll get right on it. And, you know.
Well, and don't forget, even when we were I guess it wasn't so much the case during the when we were prepping the episode, but we were shooting at the very same time that this was being shot. We were shooting a second unit episode called Disclosure.
Yeah, there's Chris's bum. He's got a nice one.
Yeah, that was the reason why we staged the scene this way. We thought
Bro.
the fans would like to see
you can
Chris
tell
from
me.
behind for a period of time.
Chris's butt. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Just go ahead and do it anytime you like. I don't get offended by that sort of thing. But anyway, it caused for a little bit of awkwardness, shall we say, in terms of production, because there were some people on the set that we would not normally have seen. We had to split our crew between two full units.
That's right.
Bill Garrity was shooting Disclosure at the time back at the studio. I love this ship.
Yeah. I still have a picture, an art department picture of this canted. This is what's called a cant, where the ship is on a particular angle, but they're standing straight. It's actually, when I visited the set, this was just across the studio lot from our offices, and you go in here, and when you come in the door, which, goes in, you'd actually get vertigo.
Believe me, spending 10, 12 hours a day in there was a rather unsettling experience as well.
Need to get the vomit bags out.
There is something out there.
It was a little bit difficult. It was on a little bit too steep of an angle. It was on about a 30-degree angle, which is a bit much.
Oh, watch out.
Cool green bullets out of the cool green guns.
It's a good shot. I like that angle. That's good too. I like this gun. This is a night you did this firefight really well.
Well, there was a lot more. There was a whole Sam Peckinpah thing going on here if you actually cut all the footage together.
Yes. I saw dailies. There's just people.
The original cut of this, I think this particular scene lasted about 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Kept double cutting the coverage.
Oh, you bastard.
That hurts.
Yeah. I'm gonna need some chiropractic work.
Ooh, I oughta.
Yeah. I like a good space fight. I mean, it's good stuff.
It is fun, sure. The sound effect defense weapon. I must confess I had a little bit of trouble with this.
Yeah. That's wicked.
That's cool. That's called a vertigo zoom. And normally what you do when you do a vertigo zoom manually, you literally just lay down a long dolly track with a zoom lens. You start the camera way, way back at full telephoto.
Belletruth, hello,
thank
you for being here, thanks for watching.
Towards the subject,
Stargate commentary.
Yeah.
And you try to maintain the image size. We actually used it often takes forever to pull them off properly. Yeah. My favorite one is in Wall Street. But we had this really cool little rig from Panavision that basically was a little electrode that you would electrical line that you would run along the base of the dolly track and plug it right into the zoom lens, and
it does it.
The lens would automatically compensate for the tracking of the dolly.
Oh, neat! I didn't know that. That's
a bit of a cheat, but it was very cool. Very effective. It was hard to decide which way to go, either to go, because it's equally effective when you start in close and wide and then you pull rapidly back. In fact, that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the background would fully compress upon.
Well, it sells what's going on, that it's affecting him more than the humans.
Yeah, it's creating the pressure.
Everyone's sort of like, that sucks, and this guy's flipping.
He's totally hypersensitive to it.
I haven't seen any ships either. But now that we know that the Stargate is a transportation device...
See, we staged Chris, his back to us again. Tried to see his bum, but that time it was just his back of his head. David Packnett was in the way again.
Yeah. Do something to help her. Please do it. But I'm staying with my ship. From what you said, it's still our best chance to get back to our home planet.
We're fortunate to have a few nice days here.
Yeah, it's cool.
Not after what they did to my crew.
The poor guys in the... Dion and Trevor, the two fellows who were wearing the prosthetics, were just dying.
All right.
I can't imagine.
It is so uncomfortable to wear those things. And of course, they've got the contact lenses to wear as well.
Thank you.
Their home planet is called Hebridan. By the sound of it, their ancestors might have come from...
I heard rumor in one of our last production meetings that the establishing shots of Cheyenne Mountain that we have now, like, other than The Simpsons, we've broken the record for reusing establishing shots.
Well, I know that Brad and Paul Mully were once going through all of them, and they started kind of.
Well, this guy's dead. This guy's
they
now
started
a general.
talking about what are those sentries saying, and so they started, improving on. I've got something in my shoe, or what do you think they're doing down there? And
but one of the running jokes is there's one of the shots where there's a couple of the sentries outside, and one of them has in fact since passed on, and the other has been promoted to some.
He's now
senior
General
official.
Jumper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And SG-15.
Speaking of which, General Jumper, the Air Force Chief of Staff, will be making a visit on season 7.
Hopefully, unless
Hopefully.
The war has happened by then. As of this recording, that we're still we don't know if we're going to war.
Before they got yours.
Don't know. Nobody survived the first attack, and ever since then they've been using ours. Must like them better.
How many?
I thought Martin did a great job with this character as well.
He's a good actor.
I mean, when reading the description of the character in the script, I mean, in your mind's eye, you see a very, very physically large presence. And Martin's not a huge man, but I thought he really played it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you say. Believe me, Colonel, if they come back, they'll come back in force.
Sir, Hammond sent SG.
And there's Rob Lee, the recurring SG member, SG5, I believe.
That's right.
I mean, he's probably been in close to half a dozen episodes by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why isn't he wearing a hat?
He never wears a hat.
He doesn't, does he?
Why is that?
I think it's a character thing.
I think he just, he has
Put a head on that guy.
Contract about hats.
Yeah. Even sick in bed, she's pretty.
Yeah, she's the hot patient. They were just talking about how hot she was.
That's right. Look at her.
She caught them.
All right, settle down, you guys.
I'm gonna go talk to her.
Yeah.
Painkillers aren't bad either. Should be
the scene ended up getting trimmed back a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I think our original running time after the first cut, I think it was something like 8 minutes long, which is excessive.
The script was long.
It's funny
That's what happens when you just keep writing.
And you just keep shooting.
Yes, and you just keep shooting film.
Holy cow, we got a 2-parter on our hands.
Hey, Andy, we're still eating lunch. I know, just keep shooting.
I've been serving with Captain Corso since I graduated flight school 10 years ago, so...
Yeah.
He and Pender, they're like my...
Korn Nemec?
Especially
in less of season 7, but the parts he's been in, he's been great thus far.
Yeah, he's got
a Stargate. How does it work?
A wonderful piece in the 2-parter to start off season 7.
That's right.
Nice dynamic between he and Daniel Jackson.
Yes.
And creates a
Should I have said that?
I don't know. There's a law against talking about Michael Shanks when you're doing DVD commentaries on season 6.
That's true,
bro.
There's a lot of them.
Yo.
So this story really is what we call a one-off, where we meet people that really don't have anything to do with our mythology, and stuff happens, and
yeah, it's nice to create a little dynamic between these two.
Yeah, this was something Rob Cooper had suggested after the first draft came in. He said, I think it'd be cool if there was some sparks here between them. And I think that's kind of a neat thing.
Mm-hmm. There's a matte painting of the Crash Cerberus.
It looks cool. I love all this ganglia hanging down.
Yeah, Peter West did a terrific job lighting this set.
Yeah, dude.
It was a difficult set to shoot in primarily because it was such a physically small space.
Yeah.
But you wanted to make it have that claustrophobic feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But also the fact that it was on the 30-degree angle, it made shooting quite difficult.
Yeah.
Any idea how we can...
We couldn't do any camera moves per se, other than just tilts and pans, because we had to build little platforms everywhere for the camera. Now, obviously on the bottom level here.
This is actually the cockpit too. I mean, we just turn it around and redress it.
That's right. It was
the same room.
Yeah, it was an overnight transition on the set. But this was also quite difficult. I remember when we set for this shot, it must have taken us about 2.5 or 3 hours to get this first shot set up.
Yeah.
But it's a great set. I love the look.
For supposedly...
There's a lot of set pieces, unfortunately, like that, the center console where Martin is standing right now.
Yeah.
There was a number of other cool plexiglass multi-layered panels with cool little things going up and down that the set dressers and special effects guys had put together that they had built prior to the script actually being written. They just had the outline.
They knew what was coming.
They knew it was coming, but it was unfortunate there was sort of no opportunity to use them. So they were sitting off stage.
Well,
and hopefully we're going to be able to reuse them and incorporate them into the new version of the Subrace.
Yeah, we're prepping an episode called Space Race, which I'm sure will have maybe aired by the time people see and hear this. That we're bringing back the Cerberus.
I actually didn't like Space Race that much.
And we're going to Heberdan, which is the planet all these folks come from. Which it's flattering to, the success of an episode is neither here nor there, but when you create, come up with an idea that people like, conceptually like a planet of humans and aliens that live together in harmony with an Irish background, which really I created
cool
for
and all. It was
the
just,
pub culture.
the episode wasn't that great.
It's always been a dream to have Irish aliens, and I finally
let's go down to the pub, have a draft, and watch
tie one
Stargate
on.
Exactly.
On the big screen.
And so we're going to Heberdan in season 7, which is going to be cool for a space race with the Cerberus.
Looking forward to that. I'll be directing that episode if all goes well.
You'll see this character.
But the interesting thing about when we do that episode, this particular character, in this case played by Dion Johnson, is going to be played by a different actor named Alex Zahara,
who's in Metamorphosis this season.
But it's going to be interesting to see if we can pull it off. Dion is such a performer. Mind you, Alex just nailed it when he auditioned for the part.
Yeah.
Did you see the tape? It was remarkable.
I didn't, but I believe it. I know Alex, and he's very enthusiastic about Stargate in any respect.
You or one of your friends, you will too.
But there's a speech that's coming up a little bit later, and I'll identify it when we get there. But Alex had basically mimicked that particular scene to the letter, and it was really quite something. So when we put all the prosthetic in, I think he's really going to take over that character.
Right. Yeah, Carter getting undressed. The key to a good episode.
Hell,
the soundtrack should have changed at this point.
Sax, kind of a breathy sax.
That's
sound,
it.
Yeah, Amanda's going to hear this and just come after us. We live near her. We should be quiet.
Don't get your hopes.
We should have asked her to come with us today.
Yeah. Amanda's one of the funniest people I know. She is so... It's so funny because she's such a good actor and she can play serious so well. Yeah, just the back there. That's fine. Just get the belt all tucked in.
But she really is a wonderful person.
She's just an incredible comedian. Like her comic delivery, which you don't see that often in Stargate, is deadly.
Yeah, it's true.
She could be like she could have her own sitcom.
Yeah,
she's just absolutely amazing at that.
Yeah, she's a very funny, very bright woman.
Yeah, just multi-talented and always been so nice to me since the moment I started on the show.
Well, that's the beauty of Amanda, and actually all of our cast. I mean, they haven't gotten into the whole star thing, and Amanda is still just a regular person, and treats everybody in the same.
Look at these
Hell
trees.
yeah.
I love this location. This is actually
Amanda
literally like 100 yards from that lake.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
And everybody else in the
blasted
show.
A bunch of smoke. We had special effects guys all over the place who were just wafting a light bit of smoke into the woods.
All right.
You know, seeing it on this great big screen. By the way, everybody, we are watching this in a place called Sharp Sound, which is a wonderful sound studio, and we're looking at this giant 40-foot projected image of the show. It's like being in a movie, our very own movie theater. There's a nice pool table in front of us.
That's right. There
We've got a box of Tim Horton donuts behind us.
Yeah, if you live in America and you don't have Tim Hortons, it's like
you haven't lived.
It was around centuries before Krispy Kreme.
Slightly different spelling.
These below Krispy Kreme right out of the water. I tried Krispy Kreme. Somebody brought Krispy Kreme donuts. Actually, it was Corn.
Corn's mother.
Corn's mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Trivia that you can shock and amaze your friend. Corin, or Corky, as he's known to his mom. This is Corky, Nemec's mom, sent up 2 or 3 boxes of Krispy Kreme to Joe
2 or
Malott.
3? What are you talking about? There was
no boxes.
There was a ton of them. There was about 10 boxes.
She sent them up to Joe Malozzi. Joe Malozzi and Corky's mom met at the San Diego Comic-Con convention, and they talked, and Joe who was a connoisseur of anything edible and expensive, and he talked about his love for Krispy Kreme donuts. And when they got back, 2 full huge boxes of Krispy Kremes arrived from Corky's mom. And now there's a raging debate amongst the sort of Canadians who are big Tim Hortons fans, or the Americans who are Krispy Kreme fans. Anyway, you may not have tuned into this episode to listen to
This is important stuff, though, and we really
a dissertation
definitely
on donuts,
deserves its time. But when the word went through the set that in the studio, we were shooting on the studio that day, and the word got out that upstairs in the production offices there were Krispy Kreme donuts, and I swear the set virtually came to a halt.
Shooting stop.
We shut down while everybody ran upstairs to have a Krispy Kreme donut. And I must confess, I wasn't terribly impressed.
Fergie, what's up, my dude?
And
hope you're having a good week so far. We're watching a little Stargate. Some commentary.
Well, my wife had the same kind of pessimistic opinion when we lived in LA a few years ago. She didn't believe they were that good, and I stopped off and got a dozen, and then she was converted very quickly.
T, what do you got?
As I said, they are wonderful. They're delicious, but
I believe it is blood on the.
How long do you think we can talk about donuts? I think we can go to the end of the episode.
I was going to segue into the Deep Cove donuts. And speaking of donuts, this
what? Yeah, this, dude, you didn't see that I commented
that
too.
Built off the Cerberus.
Pretty sure I commented.
See all the little flashing, fiber optic lighting.
Cool.
But again, it was one of those unfortunate situations where.
And if I didn't comment, I meant to.
And Paul Cunningham.
I'll check, and if I didn't, I will.
Our fiber optic work had just this massive, huge setup in here. I mean, he could have done this entire ship in fiber optic if we had chosen to do so. But,
yeah.
W on that Tears of the Kingdom, dude.
No, Peter did a phenomenal job.
Oh yeah,
The ship looks awesome.
No, I can't really.
Let me just double check real quick.
Flasks.
You changed your name too, didn't you? I'm pretty sure I did. I see.
You call me Sam. That's my first name.
Sam. It's pretty.
It's funny, Amanda always gets a little bit uneasy with these.
What does it mean?
The romance.
The romance things. Yeah, I mean, she's great. She always pulls it off so well, and I think it's almost a little method thing that she does to get herself into character a bit, because it's she's always a little bit. You just sense a touch of uneasiness. She'll never talk about it, but you can sense it a bit.
Smells like a dead bird in ancient Hebridean.
Yeah, that's right. That was the best now. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Isn't that
ancient Australian for smells like a dead bird, right? Smells like a randy donut.
Focus.
Was that your line?
I actually, my brother.
Hey, you get the picture.
I don't know what this relation. My brother's nephew is Aiden. That's where I got the name.
Ah. Aiden was actually a name we were considering for my first son, Sam.
For Sam, yeah. Well, so we did Sam and Aiden. There you go.
That's crazy.
That's just nuts.
I don't know. Cheap.
Like, that's not the only reason you're helping us.
It isn't.
You know, Sam, I've never met anyone like you before.
You know that it took Martin about 6.5 weeks to grow that.
Yes. Takes me, half an hour if I concentrate.
We actually had to get a message to him down in the Bahamas to tell him to stop shaving.
I'm sure you didn't have to. I'm sure he was just sitting there with, a good beard going anyway.
Holding up okay? Because we can go back to the infirmary and, you're...
I'm fine. Thanks.
And this is where I...
So here's the bait.
Yeah.
Sorry about the clutter. Just cataloging some artifacts we found.
That's okay. That's it. Clean off that table.
3-1.
Good lighting in here.
Alphanumeric designation.
We often just use practical lights. You see them everywhere. The bookcase lighting, the table lamp is always on, and we usually put something white. In this case, the open book, just offset. Yeah, so it'll bounce up and go for it.
Yeah.
Take advantage.
Yeah,
of it,
weird, dude. Strange.
Come on, Corin, you square. Get into it.
Don't back off. Come on, spend some
money.
Get in there.
Forget the camera's rolling. Lose yourself in the moment.
You should have seen these guys go at it during the rehearsals.
No.
Oh, I'm telling you. No, I'm kidding.
No. What? Huh?
How much I wanted to kiss you since we first met.
That. Oh, right. That's, no, it's not obvious.
Look, I'm really sorry if you don't find me attractive.
No, hey, look, you're...
I think this is sweet. It's, you know, it's cute that the you know, the...
We just met and you're injured.
That she's trying to
It's
manipulate him.
It's classic.
Yeah. Black Widow.
Savior complex. You know, I fall for the guy who saved my life because...
Isn't this the way every relationship works?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Get that way.
Are you supposed to do something about that?
Oh, yeah, right.
Corn. He's a funny guy.
He is. His hair's a lot longer this year. Have you seen it?
Sure is. Yeah. Not like down to his, shoulders. But
He's a hippie.
it's not the shaved tail you see here.
Yeah, dude.
We had a big
And the week
debate on
after
whether
that, you'll
Girl
have
Island should be
50.
camera right or camera left when he crossed frame here. This was a...
Oh, I see. That sounds like a Michael Greenberg discussion. I'm sure he was very involved in...
Actually, you know what? I don't know. Michael wasn't here.
He's big on the Axis.
He was on the other stage with...
with Bill?
Forsaken, yeah. But no, we got into a big debate. Our script supervisor and myself and a number of others. And still to this day, I think it's wrong. I think the island should have been at the other side, and I think he should have crossed left instead of crossing right. But anyway, what's done is done.
There's Krista with some cool playback.
Krista's amazing.
Krista works in post, or not post, VisFX, and she designs all the stuff you see on screens, and it's always killer.
Yeah, all these overlays, all the cool graphics and animations that she does. It's great in the production meetings. It's always, so we need this, and we need 15,000 other screens, and we need them by tomorrow. Is that okay, Krista? Do you have anything else going on? Oh, no, that's fine. I'll do it. Every time. She never says she can't do it. Crap.
No.
Bender?
Look at that. Just nice and smoky and
Back
sunbeams.
yeah.
And the episode gets darker as the plot thickens. Good directing.
Well, I wanted this to go all the way around, but we couldn't really do it for some reason. I can't even remember why, but I wanted the shot to continue all the way around into another full loop. I think when we rehearsed it, we all got dizzy watching it on the monitor and decided, let's just stop at it.
I like this nice, is staying right in front of Chris as he comes. It's a really...
The problem with this, though, you notice that it was on a Steadicam rig, and our Steadicam operator that day, I won't mention, there was he was missing a particular piece of equipment that was causing the camera to shudder a little bit, and it drove me nuts.
But it creates a bit of an edge to it.
It does, but we ended up having to go off the Steadicam, and we just did all this coverage on a standard conventional tripod and solid head, and I wanted it to still have that sort of handheld kind of a feel to it. But,
I like that side shot.
Yeah. Look at the finger extensions that we
this guy
prosthetics that we put on.
Play guitar like you would believe.
Exactly.
Whatever you have been told, it is a lie.
The prosthetics created by Todd Masters.
He's great.
Masters Effects.
One thing you'll see in season 7 is one of the characters is a half Sarakan, half human, Hebridean.
Yeah, that's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
Sam. Hands where I can see them.
It's not what you think.
What do I think?
Actually, I don't know.
This ship is a prison transport.
Yeah, that's right.
Sit down. Tie up your legs.
I'm sorry that I lied to you. I just couldn't tell you the truth.
Why not?
Because I'm the reason we're here.
I don't understand. Hands behind your back.
I think this was this was, I believe, the first scene that we shot. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the first one.
They were gonna die.
No, it's the scene where David comes back in and finds him tied up.
Right.
It was the first scene that we shot in this episode.
Prisoners of war.
Your planet's at war with them.
I let them go. We crashed before they could kill us all. It's the honest to goodness truth, Sam.
You're lying.
I'm just too embarrassed to say that I let that happen.
You're lying again.
You just can't stop.
Martin's a good liar.
You have to believe me.
Where's my radio?
Sam.
Wasn't sure if I'd sold that enough when she realized when she looked in her bag and it was gone and made the comment to herself.
She said crap.
She said crap. That always means missing radio.
Yeah.
We're not going to kill you.
How long has he been standing like that? Hands must be sore.
And as I recall, you started things.
We talked about whether or not it would. He just wanted to maintain that. Look, I'm not going to make any sudden moves, and at the same time, I'm going to sell these very expensive prosthetic fingers and get them on camera.
Was a prison transport vessel.
But yeah, I suppose it. Looking at back now, it probably would have been better if he had relaxed at some point, but
We hit an asteroid storm.
kept his hands up there for the next 8
The
minutes.
hope of survival was to set down on this planet.
And then?
We had no choice but to take them out of transport stasis. The ship had insufficient power to sustain their lives.
One of the
How
things
many
that we
were there?
really had talked about extensively was the type of character that Warwick,
We watched them in shifts.
in terms of his own personality, and that he would be very strong and articulate and well-spoken, and the only way to really achieve that was traditionally when we put people in these big prosthetic outfits, as you know, we would often put in fake teeth that have all these awful, hideous, rotten, yellowy, pointy thingies in there. But in this particular instance, we chose to keep.
Yeah, it's a good choice because it really allows his character to sort of, make his case and connect because he speaks so clearly. And the truth is, he would because he's, his planet is full of humans,
And
here we go. His wife is
and
Candace.
Candace, yeah. I have to talk to her about this.
Are you married to an alien?
My wife.
Your wife.
I probably should have cut to an insert at that point. I didn't shoot one from here because I figured that
Oh,
it
you
played.
see it.
Yeah, that it played well enough here. Seeing it on the giant screen,
Helped liberate the Hebridean
it does sell. But I was going to shoot an insert of it.
It was your people that brought them advanced technology.
Since then, we have lived in harmony.
It was difficult for him to breathe, and you can get that nasally.
He's got no nose thing going.
Yeah, very little.
Yeah, go.
Sir, I've got everything under control, but we need to talk. In person.
Tell me about it. Stay put. We're on our way.
Carter out.
Literally.
My thoughts exactly.
The set piece looks great when it's front lit like that. It has the light on it. I should have shot this on more of a steeper angle off to the right because the Kawoosh, when it comes straight at you, you don't get the.
It's still cool.
But you just don't get that three-dimensional quality out of it. It's better when it's off to the side.
Colonel O'Neill, come in, sir.
There's a number of reasons why we staged it this way.
Must be out of range.
We'll see him at the ship.
They're onto us. Yeah, I'm starting to get that feeling. Bernard,
This was the first thing we shot in the Cerberus.
outside, unconscious. I take it she didn't buy your story. Yeah, she's too smart. Gotta keep trying anyway, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
The scene that was previous to this was shot probably a week and a half after this, so the level of smoke, some of the subtleties of the lighting were a little bit different.
Doesn't look too bad to me. It's a nice shot.
We actually dug a great big huge pit.
Now
in
Corrin
the sand.
sells the Zat Blast
Big
brilliantly.
time.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. He's always game to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Always.
Warming up the ship now.
You might want to reconsider that. Forget what we stashed on Hebridean. It's nothing compared to what's through that Stargate.
What do you mean?
I mean, going back is not worth the risk of getting caught. Not when there are riches out there beyond our wildest dreams.
And we really just, I had only had Martin literally just positioned off camera.
Yeah.
So as not to, sort of hang a lantern on where he was it was that he was hiding from, because there was no place really to take cover.
Yeah.
Other than coming up from behind.
I want one of those.
Yeah.
The funky scope.
It's a trap.
It's very cool.
No doubt they have armed the ship.
We can't leave her down there.
Again, every angle looking back had to be so careful not to see the matte painting extension behind.
Indeed.
I know how to disarm the defenses. I will.
I shot this at about 7:30 in the morning. It was quite cool.
We'll watch your back.
So you'll see what we did when Warwick heads to the ship and activates the defenses. The first time that we saw it happen, we did the vertigo zoom. This time what we did was we ramped the camera from right now 24 frames to right there. You see it all slow down and go into slow motion. Right?
Matrix style, yeah.
Ramped it up to, I believe, 60 frames or 80 frames. That looks like about 60.
It's too bad there was a bit of a cut in there. It would have been cool to just maintain that whole.
Yeah, because it's an in-camera.
Yeah, it's a great,
totally in-camera effect.
It's a great sequence.
Again, it was difficult to pan around and bring him all the way to the door without seeing the effect. Of course, it's not so bad inside the ship, but...
you even got the nice tight one on him there. That's
well, the disappointment in this was that we had put, and you just can't see it. We had put some blood coming out of his ear.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have a great big huge blob of blood on there, but you just couldn't see it.
I'm gonna try to escape through the Stargate.
You all right?
A little groggy, sir.
I will stay with her, O'Neill.
So again, really the ship should be back there, but because we're not tied into the wing, you don't really notice it so much.
You best do that now or he dies. All we need to do is dial up the gate and go through. No one needs to get hurt, right?
This location,
yeah,
where this whole episode was shot, it was all basically all in
That's right, whatever I say.
on a stone's throw from the Stargate location to the location of the ship, a place that we've been probably 30 or 40 times.
We keep finding ways to make it look cooler and different, and
well, it's great. I mean, it's a location called Stokes Pit out in Surrey.
That's right.
Which we are going to be losing for a while because they are going to be making a bit of a industrial development here, so we will be losing this location. But that's the beauty of it. I mean, we've got deep woods, the open sand, the lake,
and those amazing tall trees.
Yeah. So it really is a great spot.
Don't come any closer. Back off or I'll kill him.
Colonel, just let him go.
Bro.
The only thing that I had
Nobody's going anywhere.
problem with this back off or I'll kill him. You don't see the fact that he's got
another gun.
He's got another gun at his back.
Risk.
So here's back off or I'll kill him as he's pointing the gun at O'Neill.
Let him go.
But I think it works.
Sir?
Let him go.
Remember, we had to shoot this whole scene in about an hour.
Yep.
Yeah, it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Earth.
Don Davis.
The address?
Yeah.
Call it intuition.
Actually, watching this back again, it works. I mean, even at the time that we shot it, I thought I'd sort of messed up the way that it had been staged to really sell the
like
sting.
I said,
But
it's all the
it
way,
worked.
all the way I saw it. It's all there. It's great. It's good. It's good fun to do that kind of.
Everybody locked up, okay?
Good guys, bad guys, straight up.
We shot this scene two different ways. You notice in Warwick's right hand, in that wide shot, he's holding a hat. So we had shot his close-up two different ways. One with the hat on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Didn't you? Oh, you should see it. It's interesting. I mean, Christina did a really great job. It was a tough thing to design a hat that would look good on an alien. But I mean, I thought it was very regal looking. But we just chose to go without it, and just seemed to jump out of nowhere. For all of a sudden, now he's wearing a hat.
Begs the question. Brad Wright loves hats, though.
Does he?
Yeah. He's
Incredible.
Well, that, and I've always been suspicious of a girl who kisses on the first date.
Yup.
O'Neill.
What?
Colonel, I want to thank you for everything that you have done, but mostly for trusting me.
He's so great. Dion is so terrific.
He lends a lot of weight to every role.
Just to play such a different dynamic when you can't even make any kind of a facial gesture. I mean,
Yeah. And here's the ship.
Here it is.
We'll be seeing this ship again, folks. Season 7.
Nice, nice.
Andy,
Hell
it was
yeah.
a fantastic episode. You did a great job.
Thank you very much, Damien. It was wonderfully written, and it was a load of fun to shoot.
Cool, dude. Go to the next one, fix that timer. Last episode for tonight. Episode 19, shorter stream this Wednesday. The Changeling. This one's funny. This one's where I think Christopher Judge wrote this episode. And yeah, it's a good one. I mean, it's all right. It's not. It's like it's as if Stargate wasn't real, and you'll see. Just watch the episode. I wonder if Christopher Judge will be the. Oh wait, audio commentary by Christopher Judge. Hell yeah! Cool, excellent. Here we go. All right, meet me at 5, you guys. We're gonna count to 3 and press play. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, I'm Martin Wood.
Hi, I'm Christopher Judge.
And this is The Changeling, written by Christopher Judge.
Directed by Martin Wood.
So, Chris, you haven't seen this finished yet, have you?
No, I'm looking for the hot nurse.
This is the first time that Chris
Wow,
has seen
first
this
time,
with music
nice.
and everything, so this is a real treat
Hell
for
yeah.
him.
Yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to it.
So, single Steadicam shot all the way in here.
That took 72 takes to get.
What are you worried about? You get to lie here.
You know, it's actually really difficult to lie really still like that.
Yeah.
And you never
For you.
realize it too. Yeah. Well, since I quit drinking, it is.
So, one shot that started out in the hall ends on Chris's face here. And the return of Peter Williams,
Bro.
possibly for the last time. One of the reasons I did this, which I think is kind of cool, this worked out really neat this way. When Chris and I first sat down and started talking about this, we actually went to a restaurant about a month or two before we had to shoot. And before the script was done, and Chris had just finished writing the script, and had just given it to Brad Wright, and told me about this. And I thought, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible, because the whole thing about Changeling is that it's dreams, but it's not just one dream, which we're used to doing, where you go from one dream into reality. Here we go dream to dream, which allows us to do so much more than we ever could before.
Well, and to further address that, I mean, when Martin and I sat down, just the ideas that Martin had just really took the script to another level that even I, writing it, could have foreseen.
It's interesting because when Brad Wright actually came in with the script and put it on my desk, and I knew sort of what was going to happen with it, and I read your draft of it, and when he put it on my desk, he said, "This is what a director loves to do." And he put it down. He said, "You're going to have fun with this." And I started reading it, and this is one of my favorite scripts I've ever done in all the television and film that I've done, because you get to do so much else with it. And this is a single shot. This whole thing has lived on a single shot so far. The first shot that we took is in this show so far. We've seen 2 shots.
Yeah,
What's
dude,
interesting
for
is
sure.
when I've watched this with somebody, the very first thing that happens when you lift your face away from your hands is they went, "Where's his tattoo?" I didn't know if people would know it or not, And the other thing was, "Where's the pouch?"
Where's the love handles?
You lost that when you stopped drinking. It's interesting that we had a whole bunch of conversation about gold or not gold. which I found fascinating.
Well, yeah, and you were right. I mean, about to keep one color the entire episode, so that wouldn't be a tip off into what where we were in the story, where we were in reality or not reality, and it of course you were right.
If you haven't seen Chris in real life without the makeup on,
I'm actually gold.
He's white. He's white. He's white as
only
snow.
When I cash my checks, baby.
What's interesting though is that Chris is much darker than he is when he's got this gold makeup on that you see, and in this it didn't become a question for us until the day before we started shooting, and you said, "Do I have to wear eye makeup? Do I have to wear gold paint when you don't have the tattoo on?" And the conversation ended with us deciding that it was best if you wore a toned down gold and toned down gold paint.
I know, dude, right? Only when I cash my checks, bro. Fucking little gold nuggets and commentaries like this.
When you first started thinking about this, Brad talked to you about the storyline, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And then you sat down with it, and where'd you go with it from there?
Well, basically, there's the structure kind of that you do. You come up with a pitch, then you submit outlines and outlines and outlines, and to the credit of Brad, he really tries to foster and encourage your creativity. But what happens a lot of times is he will spoon feed you the script, and I really wanted to have a genuine assessment of if I had any skill at all as a writer, and so I kind of went about it a different way. I pitched, and Brad allowed me to just hand in a finished draft, and. Oh, is this the first transition?
This is the first transition, yeah. I want to make mention of this. There's me in the background walking past, making the transition. This is the first one that actually takes us through one dream into another. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
And see, I'm talking to Dan Shea there, and walk away from him. He walks away.
Awesome. That's great.
So one of the things about these transitions, and I want to get back to what you were talking about in just a second, but one of the things about these transitions that's so cool is that you make the transition in each of these things as the person leaving the dream, leaving one dream and going into the other. So when you first showed up in here, you had the tattoo, you were wearing the black T-shirt, and suddenly you show up in here, and then when we cut back to you, no tattoo and the fireman's shirt.
See that the whole transition is so much more seamless than I thought it would. For some reason in my mind, because I'd only seen rough cuts of this, I didn't know it was going to be that clean. I thought there was going to be like a
no, dude.
James Tishner and the
smooth
guys going crazy with it, just saying, okay. We used actually a motion control device for this, which we don't usually use on Stargate, just because it's fairly time consuming. But what I wanted to say, aside from the transitions, and I'm going to go back to them every time we get to a transition, I'll talk to you about how we did it. In this case, like I said, we did Chris in the cafeteria in the gate room, or in Stargate, used a motion control, and then so Chris wasn't actually here in the fire hall when we did the transition, and we had Amanda at both sides. But I do want to talk to you about sort of when you listen to. There's Alan. That's Amanda's husband. This was a family show. We see how Chris's family got in this one. But what's really interesting is that the text of the dialogue is really interesting to sort of listen to, because you get all these little hints all over the place about what we're really talking about. Right. The window fell out of that thing when it was up.
Did it really?
Yeah, that's why it's open. It's why there's one open window there. But we got to drive around in fire trucks, which was very
ever.
Cool. We're all sitting in the fire truck screaming at the top of our lungs because it was so much fun.
And the power that these trucks have is really amazing.
Yeah.
Because you think of them as kind of these huge lumbering beasts, but they can really move.
Yeah. And but I want to go back to the dialogue for a second, where we talk the things we talk about, the things you were talking about there with the liver transplant and things like this. Where did that come from? Where did the idea of that come from?
I think that, well, originally as I wrote it, it was two completely separate stories. So there actually had to be very literal signs of what in one story stood for what in another, in the real story that was going on. And And then Brad really interspersed it, and basically this is how Brad puts it. He said, I basically took your 2 stories, threw them up in the air, and where they landed, that's how I kind of messed it all together. Because I originally wrote it as 2 very separate stories, and it wasn't until I think the end of Act 3 that you found out that it wasn't really reality.
Well, we still do. We still hold off.
Oh, really?
For the majority of this show, you don't know what reality is. I mean, we'll show you where reality comes in. Is really interesting, and it's even in the edits. Things moved a couple of paces down to return.
You're gonna see Braytac here in a second.
Where you had it showing up, the reality showing up. There's John Ulmer. That's normally Chris's stunt double.
Oh yeah.
He actually does double Chris in here as well. He's got he's Chris when he jumps through the fire.
It's funny. I just did Andromeda. We're talking about, and John Ulmer was my stunt double.
He's good. And this is Chris's son in here.
That's little Christopher.
Right there.
Hey there. Can you hear me?
Acting debut.
Good boy, I need you to stay still. We're gonna get you out of here soon.
You know, saying that's not his son. He ain't black.
This was an interesting day. We had all this stuff to do on this day, and we had crashed cars and fire and things like that. So we had a great time out on the street like this.
Yeah.
In reality, which we don't normally get to do on Stargate.
I must say, this was the most fun I've ever had on an episode.
Really.
On my count. 3, 2.
And this, Peter Williams had real trouble opening his eyes in this thing. He couldn't open his eyes. We tried it 5 different ways to send it. He just couldn't do it. Daniel, who's right there, actually could, but Peter's eyes are so sensitive. He says because he wears sunglasses all the time. But he couldn't open his eyes. Yeah. So this was great. We had 2 real fire units out here to help us with this.
And they were just such great guys. And there was a point where the fire got out. The car actually caught on fire.
Yeah.
And those guys were on top of it in like 2.2 seconds.
Yeah. This is good. I like this effect. This effect is really kind of neat. Ray Douglas made a special fire thing for us on this thing so that when this thing goes up, it really goes up well. And obviously really well because it started on fire. But keeping the action going in this thing was difficult because, again, you're always trying to think of, is it real? Is it a dream? How far can we stretch reality in the dream?
Yeah.
There's John.
Get him out, old man.
The lovely Tony Amendola.
Yeah, he was wonderful on this.
I'm getting you out, old man.
Save That's right.
yourself. No.
Hell yeah. Bro. Got him.
Teal! Get a medical team down here now!
Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't I just somewhere else? No.
There's a second transition there, which I thought was kind of a cool
I don't know, the fire? No.
We make the transitions again when you think about how to make a transition. There's 2 ways to do it really. Visually, just to make a cool transition like we do 5 or 6 times in this thing. And the other way is just to make a cut. And we do that a couple times in here. That first one where you get thrown back away from the car, and then suddenly you hit the ground in the gate room is the weakest of all the transitions in here because I couldn't think of a flame transition that would work for us.
Right.
And I'd been trying to think of a way to do it from flame, but I couldn't get flame into the cafeteria unless it was something goofy like a flambe
duck
or something.
flambe. Yeah.
So I thought I'd just do it in the cut and let the music take us across. There's a couple of cuts that happen that are very, very precise cuts that where we change around. In fact, the end of this scene is one of those cuts where we're in one room and you think you're in that room still when you do the cut. And it's a very easy, very old magic trick on film. The easiest thing to do is to cut from one scene to another in something that looks very similar, right? And the audience gets fooled by it. So here I have Terrell put her hand on your head. The hand on the head is what sells this.
I have a booger in my nose.
And then you always do. and if you come around then, it feels like the camera actually made a full circle, starting on one side of you, coming around, and then we're in the other room. Right?
I like that. I like that transition.
And it's interesting. This was sort of the beginning of when you get to think about how you're going to make the magic, happen on film, you can do it in a vis effect. But what I wanted to do, and I know you and I talked about this, is more than everything else, I wanted to make it so that they were practical changes, so that they weren't visual effects. So far, we've seen one visual effect and 2 transitions that are all practical.
Nice.
And,
saving that money.
There's a good mix of those, so that the audience is always surprised. Lots of times, with a very savvy audience, like the one that Stargate has now, after 6 years, they know when to look for something. And when you look up in the sky and you're going to see a spaceship, it's not going to be anything practical. It's not going to be an in-camera trick. And here, the same thing happens, is that it's very easy to keep the audience on their toes because 2 dreams, never reality. You can make transitions that you couldn't normally make.
Right.
Well,
now, how did you go about coming up with all this? Because when you like, a lot of the stuff I see now, how it's executed, but on the day you would just be like, "Trust me," and I'd be like, "Oh man, I couldn't see it." Pretty much everybody was the same way. The DP was the same way. Everybody's going, "What are you doing here? How's this going to work?" What I think is interesting is Brad Wright wrote in the script transitions that were light changes. That we look at your face and the light goes down, the light comes back up, and now we're in another dream. I wanted to take it a little step further than that. I didn't want it to feel like it was a dream ever. So nobody really knows. So that when you sit down and have the conversation with Dr. Jackson later on, and you say, "I don't know which is real," I want the audience to feel the same way. And if you do the down and up, like somebody's falling asleep or somebody's waking up, then they're going to be able to tell, right? So here, the next cut could be a change of dream, And really, you got to ask yourself, you're dreaming this? How are you dreaming about Musetta and Rick out in the hallway? But anyway, you look beyond that. The next transition that we have, of course, is one of these other. It's exactly the same way we got into that room, which is the way we get out of it. Is going to be the same way. Musetta's great. It was nice to have her really back. This transition, this one with Tony just looking agitated. Again, the stuff whenever I was doing this, I think nobody really knew whether I was making a dream transition or not. And I think that what was funny was that everybody in the crew would say, "How are you going to do this?" That doesn't really matter. It's a dream. So do you remember how we got that became the catchphrase? Yeah. What's funny in this, when you've got a writer that's also an actor on the show, when Chris is on the thing, and I would normally, in a normal situation, whenever I do a show, I sit down with a script and the actors will have questions and I have sort of answers worked out. In this case, I thought, well, I don't have to do that because Chris wrote it. Yeah, so, but still, more often than not, I come to Martin and go, "Why am I saying that?" But the great thing was that it was hard for me, because I've been Teal'c for so long, I would naturally fall back into Teal'c's rhythmic pattern and actually physicality. Yeah. And you would constantly remind me, "That's too Teal'c-y, that's too Teal'c," and that's really...
Yeah. Tony would do the same thing. I said, "You're not Braytac, stop being Braytac." And it's hard. I mean, when you're with the same people, when you're doing the same acting, it's hard to do.
The car exploded right in your face and you come away from it with a headache.
This is another transition that happens. Again, it's just this cut in. We push in so that we get into the single face here. And then we cut to the next face, which is this one, which looks like the same face, but it's not.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You see? So it's just matching the face. It's just getting past Musetta to your face, right? Making sure I can make the cut. And then you've got the tattoo again.
Wow, that's great.
You see? And it comes down to the point of manipulating you, too. Remember, I said you have to sit up to begin with, then you have to lie back. And it's like, well, why am I doing that? Well, because I know you're sitting up and I know your shoulders are turned this way when you're talking to Braytac or Bray. See, it's fascinating for me to watch the difference between Teal'c and T in this, because you really see how much you affect Teal'c, and I think that's a very cool character thing that a lot of people, again, unless they've been to conventions and have heard you talk or watched other shows that you've done, very few people would ever know Chris.
Yeah. Well, it's weird for me to watch the difference.
And he's still better off than 99% of my patients. Tests show.
Wild, you guys.
This transition is really cool. This is one that Brad Wright actually wrote into this, and I didn't want to touch this one because he had such a great idea with it. And James Tishner did this for me in such a great way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So then the audience goes crazy, A, because it's another transition, and B, because
it's
Michael shows up.
Yeah.
You know?
Hi. I'm Dr. Daniel Jackson. I'm one of the resident psychologists here.
And this was neat. I really liked the way you did this in the script. I liked the way you had Michael come back as a doctor, you know?
Well, originally, I got into my mind that I wanted to kind of work him in like more with what was going on with his character in the show, and so I thought about him being some sort of priest or minister or something like that, and thankfully Brad nixed that because I think this is much more effective.
Michael did something in here too, which I hadn't expected him to do, which was he got away from Dr. Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost the affectations that Dr. Jackson has, and went
yeah,
much
dude,
more.
because
This
he's
is much
brilliant.
more Michael
Mm-hmm.
that we're getting to see here, and I think that's kind of cool where you get to see it. I should mention too that Amanda did exactly.
How many
the
other
same thing.
characters did he play? Like
When
50
she went to, from
in one
Major
episode?
Carter just to Captain Carter. She changed too, which is hard for her to do because I mean not hard, obviously, but you realize again how much you guys put into each of the
Hell
characters.
yeah,
that are on
dude.
The show.
Smoke one for
Chris drops
Shanks.
this,
Episode Lifeboat.
This house code here because
Sending our script supervisor into convulsions.
he didn't want to carry it, so he just thought, "I'll just throw it down here." Then we all thought, "Well, it's a dream, of course. He can do whatever he wants. He can levitate across the street if he wants to."
Out, and from what your friends tell me.
So one of the things I wanted to do, and I so appreciate that Brad allowed me to do this in terms of not cutting into a lot of these scenes. There's a lot of single shot, much more movie shooting in here, because I didn't want the audience again going, "Oh, is that real?" And inside a scene like this, I don't want that to happen. At the end of it, at the beginning of it, things like that, that's when it should happen. But I don't want people being taken out of the story enough to think, is this a transition of some sort?
Right.
So you know the single shot stuff stops that from happening.
So maybe you're afraid. Maybe subconsciously you're afraid that you won't be yourself anymore.
The doctor told me I would lead
See,
a perfectly normal.
This is interesting. Hearing the dialogue that Tilk must have inside all the time too, and that's why I think this was. If anybody else had written this would never have been the story that it is here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're Teal'c. Nobody else is Teal'c.
Teal'c's story.
Yeah.
You know what Teal'c
I
would
was
think.
actually just completely overwhelmed by not only your effort and Brad's effort, but like every single department's effort to contribute something. It was really an overwhelming week.
Yesterday you had a full-blown hallucination.
It's awesome, dude.
I'm sorry, but that is...
This when I think about sort of the dialogue that lots of times when scripts come in, I'll read sort of the very first draft and then I read the end, and the dialogue changes a lot. The dialogue in this show didn't change very much. A lot of your dialogue is in here. Brad and Robert both, whenever they go into these things, I'm always stunned by how far they take them and polish them up and things like that. But in this case, a lot of what you said in your original draft showed up in here. I actually had a shot here where Michael disappeared, where you looked at him and then you looked at him again and he was gone. No, you know what? Let's leave this for this transition. This is a cool transition. It sort of shows up out of nowhere. Just walks into the gate room.
That's great.
That's another one that's it's a very simple trick. It's just a blend in the, and it's just really a dissolve.
See, it's weird to, I mean, I want to comment more, but I'm trying to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have watched this before I came.
Here we go, and watch the transitions happen faster here. This is one transition to get into the gate room, and then suddenly, here we go again, another one getting us back and forth. And I really like the way that that as we get further into the story, the change between dreams happens faster and faster. And I think that's one of the things that Brad did do with the script when he took it. Is he started with it in as two stories, and then started putting it together and started editing already inside it. Now, we had a very elaborate way to get Chris down the hall here where we step printed the whole thing.
Storyception, bro.
It just didn't work.
It didn't work.
Scriptception.
So we ended up having to jump from
Phil,
one
what
hall
up,
to the
dude?
other.
Thanks for stopping through
I
and watching a
wasn't
little
happy with this
Stargate
at all.
commentary.
This was this part of this scene I just wasn't happy with, getting you into the room, and there's not the light that's at the end of the hall that should be there, and having Apophis walk forward was not what I wanted him to do either. I wanted it to be more magical than that. I put him in the original costume that we saw him in the pilot in this too, because we're getting back to when you were his first prime.
Right.
So I wanted him to be inside this thing.
No!
Excuse me, sir?
And then a very easy transition again.
Wow, that nurse sure is easy on the eyes.
What tell us about her?
In fact,
There's
I'm not
Alex.
only a customer, I bought the company.
Alex
Hell
Pappas
yeah.
is one of the first AD is one of the guys in the beds there too. Our first AD, we just threw him in there, right there in the middle. Tell us about Gia.
Well, that actually is my girlfriend, and originally I had written a non-speaking part for her, and
Hell yeah,
threw in some
Chris,
lines as
get her,
well,
Chris.
And, yeah, we had absolute hoot because she comes and visits the set, but she's never really got to see the inner workings of it. So it was a really good day for her to also.
This is my favorite transition that we did right here. He gets to the door, turns around, whip over, find Apophis,
Bro,
that's great.
and then watch this cut back. This is so easy to do.
Come on, let's go.
That door.
That's fantastic.
All we had to do was take the door and put it in the doorway. In
With the green screen
Stargate.
behind
And
it?
The thing that sells it is the person from the hospital walking by.
Right.
That's what sells that as being in the hospital still. So you set up somebody coming down the hall
Damn.
in the hospital, and then you turn around, put the door in the Stargate, open the door, and have this person walk by in between.
Wow.
And everybody believes it's a visual effect.
Right.
But that's not a visual effect. That's a practical effect.
That's awesome.
This is good too. We're more than halfway into this show when we find out the reality of what's going on. You don't do that in television. That doesn't happen in television.
Fraser just gave you a clean bill of health.
My symbiote is gone! My symbiote is gone!
Get a medical team down here right now.
Interesting how inside your dream you do the same thing.
Right.
You know, this is a dream, but you've still got O'Neill coming forward and doing this kind of stuff. Now this I had to do as a different transition. I didn't want it to be the same kind of transition that we'd done before. You know, this is hilarious. You want to talk about the tide coming in on this? Do you remember?
Yeah, because we started what
The
would
tide
be up
came in?
the upper left part of the frame
Bro.
here, and because of the tide coming in, we had to keep moving right as you're looking.
Yeah,
at it.
dude.
And we had guys' bodies in the water and all this kind of stuff. It was very funny.
That looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, this is the reality of this show. We find out what it's all about. The transferring of a symbiote between Braytak and Tilk.
To keep them alive.
Again, here I wanted to keep it as a single shot. It's a push down and a pull away. And the next transition is the one I don't like the most.
Really?
Yeah.
That that was so worth that day.
Yeah.
Because I was bitching and moaning, and you kept saying it'll be worth it. I was like, "There's no way this will be worth it."
See, now what I should have done in there is I should have started above you and Mazetta
and pushed in
and pushed back down. But I didn't think it would work visually because the sets were so different, and I couldn't think of a way to do it. I literally couldn't think of a good way to do it. But I should have started above, just to get that same motion. And here again,
This is how we learn.
You do something in a single shot, and we did this whole thing as one shot, and thought, should I cover it? Should I cover it? Should I cover it? And before we actually shot the first frame of this piece, of this scene, we decided, we'll do coverage just back on Chris for when he turns around. So, but this whole scene could very easily play in this one shot. You look down, you see the stitches, you come back up into this. This is one of the best scenes I've seen you do this year, Chris.
It was.
And so are you.
Well, you helped me a lot during this, just to let it go, just to be in it, but not to push and things like that. And it was a different place for me to go as me being Teal'c, not Teal'c.
Right. Yeah, emotional. That an emotion that Teal'c can't have usually, for the most part. I mean, we've seen you. We've seen you with Musetta, in fact.
Right.
You know, being emotional, but not this kind of confused emotion, which is a really, I think, an interesting human thing. And this is the scene where you get the most human.
And when I'm there, I believe it. When I'm there, it makes sense that this can't be real.
Bro.
You know, there it is. That's the whole scene in 2 shots.
Wow.
You know, and it's very effective. Nobody knows. I mean, when you can do a scene like this and you just let the actors, you know, and the words carry it through, nobody misses.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
it's a television convention to cut around and see somebody's face and things like this. Look, I don't need to see your face right now. Everything is playing out right there. And
it is amazing how un-TV this all looks. I mean, it looks like a film. I mean, like, and I guess you never really knew why, but what it is the lack of cuts.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
So, now, Camille, this is the very first scene that we shot in this.
Oh, did I have difficulties that day?
This
Remember,
was
you kept
both,
pulling me aside, going, "That's too Teal'c."
Both you and Tony had the same problems.
How you feeling? Better.
Being a little bit too much Teal'c, being a little too much Braytac. And it's interesting because this is the time when you actually get to be a little bit of Braytac and a little bit of Teal'c at the end. That's why we went to the handshake at the end of this scene is a Teal'c Braytac handshake.
What? They're pumping me full of anti-rejection drugs and this and that and everything.
This was a tough change in the script. This part about Bray dying still, because I think it really takes you. There's a certain leap in logic that you have to believe when this happens, because you're thinking, okay, the kidney transfer is done. Now what happens? We've seen you take your symbiote out, put it into him. Now what's going to happen? And this is really what this script needed, was this scene. Oddly enough, it's a very difficult scene to do, but it needed this scene. It needed the Braytac dying, because that's what pushes Teal'c to actually get to that point.
Right.
Okay.
You know, and I think
I'm gonna die myself than let you go.
That's the reason why you're doing what you're doing on the other planet, you know, is switching symbiotes.
Right.
I think the end of this show had to service so many different things. The end is not as strong as the beginning of it, you know, and I don't say that often about these shows, but I think that the last act here, there's the handshake right there. I just do a little bit of a vertigo zoom to keep this a little bit weird. Just to keep it strange. Here's a really cool trick. Watch this. You show that there can't be anybody there, and then there's somebody there. You know? And all Michael did was he was right beside the camera, but it feels too weird because there's no way somebody could rush into that spot and be standing there, right? And it's all in camera. There's no visual effect involved, but it feels like there is, you know? And
but you're right. It was so effective
because it's the way that Dr. Jackson moves in and out. Right? We don't ever see him sort of leaving. Well, actually, the whole year we haven't seen him leave. You know. But here again, we did this whole scene. Once we stand up from the table, the entire thing plays out in one shot, in a big, long walk and talk.
Well, the nightmares are gone.
And I think it's important because, you know, we start at one spot. We start with you being completely, you not believing in this thing at all and being very grounded in this world. And at the end of this scene, and all we do is walk in a big circle, which was intentional, not because of the location, but I wanted it to come back to almost the same spot we left from. And this picnic table is a bench, or is about 40 feet away from the bench that we end up. But it feels like we go this big, huge, long trip, right? And if you cut into it, you lose that sense of familiarity with the characters. You know, you lose that you have an inability to follow the storyline in that circle. You know, And the good thing is this is all just information, so you can do this because it's information that the audience already knows. It's just you discovering it yourself.
Right.
His name's Jonas.
And what does this team do? The one in your dream?
Interesting for me was all the way through this, we had people calling you T.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when Braytak was supposed to say Tilk.
Oh, is that right?
And we took that out. We took it out until the very end here where Dr. Jackson says, I'm never going to leave you, Tilk. It's the first time he says it, because what's happened, and a lot of, I've sort of been thinking about this, is that there will be some confusion about whether he was part of the dream or whether he inserted himself into the dream to help you. It's a capability he has. And what's interesting about that is think about the levels you got here. You got 2 dreams back to back, so you can do anything you want, you know, transition between worlds. And you've also got a being that can insert themselves into the dream.
Right.
So 3 levels of fantasy. That's pretty cool, Chris. It is. It's a cool idea.
Well, you know, just sitting here watching it, I was like, wow, I'm all right.
Yeah, you can write.
But it's so weird. It's I'm watching it as an actor, and like right now, the side of wherever the writing comes from is not really being accessed right now, because a lot of it, like, I can't remember how I came up with it, but because it was so much harder for me to perform it, as opposed to writing it.
And what was interesting for me is this was one of the hardest shows you had to perform. You know, like in when we'd go there on the day and we'd sit down with it, it wasn't really just me having to explain the script to you. It was me reminding you this is where we are in this, and you having to make this, you know, put this Rubik's Cube together of getting to there. This is a great scene. This is a great scene. And again, Brad Wright let this play out. You know, you don't normally do this on television. You don't normally get a 2-shot like this. I mean, some of the bigger shows are doing it now because it works. It's very effective. The audience is savvy enough. They watch films all the time. They don't think of the difference.
Right.
Hang in there. Just a little while longer.
This is great. And the music adds such a level to this thing, too. Now, this next transition, watch him, he says it.
I haven't left your side, Teal.
Tilk, first time. Now, this transition was very easy to do.
That's a promise.
Very easy to do. Because it's one of those visual transitions again where I have somebody come in, you don't know who it is, suddenly there's a vest there, and it's O'Neill's vest.
That's fantastic.
It's gonna be all right, just hang in there.
Tilk, listen to me, okay? This is very important. How long have you gone without your symbiote?
Braytak.
It's okay. He's alive thanks to you, but I need to know how long.
You must say Braytak.
We'll do our best, okay? Let's take them both directly to OR1.
Now we're back in reality again. So, and we're in reality from here until the end of the show. But do you know that in this show, if you add up all the time, there's less than 10 minutes of real time in this show. Everything else is a dream.
Damn, dude.
It was an ambush.
We found over 100 rebels.
I don't know what Don had real problems with this scene.
Did he really?
He did. It was, you were rolled out by this time, but I don't know what it was. Don some days he gets something in his head and starts pronouncing something the wrong way, and he couldn't get rebel leaders out. Just kept stumbling over it. We're all hysterical at this point. See, this shot is handheld because I needed to do a pickup, and I didn't want to set up a whole shot for us. So I said, just grab the camera, run in there, and get this close up, and have him do a pickup from this line. You know, it's weird because the rest of it is all down low, and that was just a grab shot on Ton. He's just so happy to be done.
It's too funny, dude.
We've managed to stabilize them.
Oh, this is such a great shot. This is Nathaniel.
Oh, I got to work that morning while you were doing the shot.
It's Nathaniel Massey running a Steadicam, and he's walking backwards up a spiral staircase.
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
At the speed that these guys are doing it. That you can't do that. You actually get to see him in the mirror back there, or in the window. If you watch the very beginning of it, he caught himself in there.
Is that right?
But
wow,
just to get up a spiral staircase, walking backwards. And you have to understand that a Steadicam probably weighs about 75 pounds. And he's holding it in one arm, going backwards, not looking where he's going. Nathaniel is a beast.
Yeah, he really
I don't
is.
know very many Steadicam operators that could make that shot.
That would even attempt the shot.
Yeah. It's interesting because the stairs at the back of see, now she reacted before he came through.
Yeah.
It's because obviously Carmen was standing there the whole time. And then we put the puddle in front. But there's stairs at the back of the briefing room that are straight up. And he said, I'll do that. And I said, you know, just let me take you somewhere. Let me show you something. And I started walking up the spiral staircase. Yeah, I can do this.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It was a great shot, though.
It's about time. It's 35 shows into Stargate, and I finally figured out a new way to shoot an entrance. Now here we are at the resolve of the show, which I felt, and I know you and I have talked about this before, Chris, about the fact that it's a little bit of a cheat, and we've gone through all these dreams and all this kind of stuff to come down to the point where you and Braytak are actually sitting here, and the decision to use a synthesized symbiote. You wrote this because you wanted to get rid of the symbiote, right?
Yeah, and hopefully grow some hair and get rid of the gold and the tattoo. Well,
all three of them.
I really understand now when I watch movies or a TV show and they just seem to end and they just seem to resolve themselves. It's really becomes a time issue, and just writing this, the hardest part was to get the script down to 40 whatever pages. 'Cause I think initially it was like 78 pages long, and you just start getting rid of stuff, and it's so hard to write the full arc of a story in 40 whatever minutes.
Paying Aaron's offered us?
Oh,
yeah. And this is a scene that tries to service a number of different things that happen in the script, right? We get rid of the symbiote, which is going to be interesting in the next season. The fact that you're now a drug addict.
Yeah, a drug addict with hair and not gold nor tattoo.
Yeah. We'll see whether that flies or not. Yeah. It's an interesting concept, Teal'c without a symbiote, and it opens up a whole bunch of things. But again, it's more of a way of getting to the end of this, of having a resolve to this. And it's unfortunate it couldn't have gone on for another 7 or 8 minutes, because then we would have had the original cool ending that you wrote up with that. Do you remember what happened at the end of yours?
Yeah, I actually go to an Asgard healing chamber, and I actually gain the knowledge of the Goa'uld.
Bro.
But that didn't happen.
Would have been cool.
It would have been.
Bro.
It would have been.
That would have been way crazy.
As season 6 has progressed, and we've gotten to a new, bigger, better Goa'uld, Anubis.
Yeah.
The Goa'uld have sort of fallen by the wayside now because he's no longer Goa'uld. This scene I wanted reminiscent of the show where O'Neill wakes up in the same place, and so I put the bed in the same place, and I put Daniel Jackson in the same place, because it's sort of, this is in his ascended self. This is the way he comes in,
right?
Right. And what I wanted to do at the end was the same kind of disappearance, where he walks away. And in the earlier show, what we did was we had Carter come back in, and we realized that there is no Daniel Jackson there. In this case, it was a little bit more gentle, and it was a little bit nicer, a little bit more organic, where we pull back and he's just not there.
Get you through this. I promise you this.
And this, and the other show was The Abyss, and this one is different than The Abyss in that he's not aggressive in this one. Mm-hmm. He's very, very gentle and allows you to arrive at your own decision and things like this. And I really like that, and it's interesting to sort of see, to put a scene together that's exactly the same as another scene that you've done. and see how his character is different.
Right.
Even though he's the same ascended Daniel Jackson. And this great end for you there. And so we pull away and we find out that he's alone.
Damn, dude.
Without the knowledge of the ghoul.
Yes, but only one chin.
And that was The Changeling by Chris Judge.
And Martin Wood.
Hell yeah, you guys. Damn, bro. Perfect. Well, that was it, you guys. We did it. We watched it. We made it happen. A little SG1. Good stuff, you guys. Ooh. That was SG1 Wednesday. We'll be back next week to finish off season 6. There's only 3 episodes left. Episode 20, 21, and 22. Memento, Prophecy, and Full Circle. Bro, Full Circle. Bro, that one wrecks me. Poor little creators. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Next week, we'll finish off season 6. Tomorrow, I don't know. We might be on tomorrow. We might not. We'll see. Friday, we got Star Wars, you guys. We're probably going to watch The Phantom Menace. Friday. Saturday, not too sure. Sunday, probably nothing. Monday, we'll be back with some anime. Tuesday, we got our 40K for Tuesday. And then Wednesday, back to SG1 to kill season 6. Thank you guys for hanging out, chilling, relaxing, maxing. Everybody that was here, hanging out. Area 51, my guy. Thank you for hanging out. Phil, Bird Yeet, Bella Truth, Ubi, Gerald, Bots, and Lurkers. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for chilling. We might be back here maybe tomorrow, maybe sooner. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. No schedules. We just pop in when we pop in. But yeah, we'll catch you again soon. Thank you guys for hanging out. Cheers to everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.